Hi guys, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Nuggets News. Today we're here with Simon and Key from Loki. How you going, guys?
Hey, thanks.
Another quality little Australian project that I met on my travels a few months ago, and since we first met, you guys have completed your ICO successfully. I believe that sold out. So, guys, in a nutshell, what is Loki?
Loki is a fork of Monero. We're trying to create this incentivized full node scheme that will allow us to create this sort of permissioned, decentralized communications network that will allow people to send end-to-end encrypted messages on a censorship-resistant system. So, like, you got WhatsApp and stuff, which are fine. You can send messages which the contents can't be read if you believe in the encryption that they're using. But you still know who's talking to who. And at any time, a government can turn around and say, "No, this app is not going to be used in this country anymore." They can block the servers, take it off a number of different things and whatever else. So we're trying to build a system where people can have access to anonymous communications without that possibility happening, and also to try and create a currency out of this system where there's a revolving incentive scheme and yeah, people will be able to use it to trade and communicate anonymously.
I will pull you up on the permission thing, because people can get a bit edgy about that. That doesn't mean permissioned as in we're letting people access the network. The permission is based on the stake that you have in the network. Yeah, right. So if you have coins, you're able to start one of these special master nodes, or service nodes we call them, and those service nodes route messages. So it's not permissioned in like we're a central service.
Absolutely, and that's probably what I was going to dive in. So we'll dive into exactly the tech and how that works, but why is this so important? So as you said, something like WhatsApp or different messaging service, sometimes there's that master encryption key or centralization to some degree, who owns the company. Certain countries won't allow certain applications and chat rooms and all that sort of thing. So why is this so important for you guys, and why do you believe that this is better than anything else out there?
I think the best example is to actually look at what's happening in the past couple of years. So if you look at countries like Egypt or Iran or China and what they're doing to block private messages outgoing from their country, you can see that there is a very big effort to stop people using these private encryption apps. So I think Russia a few weeks ago said that they were going to start banning Telegram. And the way that they do that is they just look at the IP addresses of the servers and they just block them from being accessible by the country. The thing is, you can't do that with a decentralized network because there's so many servers coming up all of the time. And we will be running specific OFBS for bridges as well, so that it can appear that you're going to a legitimate service, but really in the back end, you're being redirected to the local messenger. So we've got some ways to get around government level firewall, or not government level, but state level active firewalls.
So just for the beginners out there, as you said, it's a bit like saying, how do you ban Bitcoin, or how would a government ban Bitcoin? They can't ban every node. As long as there's nodes supporting the network, there's ways that we'll be able to send each other messages privately, or we'll dive into everything else that Loki will be able to do in the future now. So from a tech point of view, guys, it's a hybrid of proof of work, what you're calling proof of service, where we have sort of master nodes, but we also have mining. So do you want to talk about how that works in the two-tier system?
Well, yeah, sure. It's pretty straightforward. Like in Bitcoin, you just simply have miners mining the blockchain with proof of work. I mean, pretty standard stuff. That Dash's idea to first create the idea of master nodes, which is what we're basing this off. They said, okay, for every block that is found, what we'll do as a consensus rule is we'll say half of it goes to, I can't remember the exact proportions, but half of it goes to the miners and half of it goes to these special group of nodes called master nodes, who have staked a certain amount of coins, and then randomly one of them will get selected to win that block's block reward. So that gives them an incentive to operate because they're earning rewards based on having staked and based on proving that they are running a full node. So that's what proof of service means. That's why they get rewarded. Yes.
So just in your guys' opinion, with lots of different privacy mechanisms out there, different privacy coins, why did you choose to use that sort of ring signatures, one-time addresses, all that sort of thing? Do you believe that is the best currently out there?
Yeah, so I mean, there's the major privacy methods at the moment are CoinJoin and Bitcoin tumblers and Ethereum tumblers, those are major services out there right now. The other one would be ZK snarks.
Yeah.
And then you have the Monero model with the ring signatures, stealth addresses, and ring CT. So I can go quickly through some of the issues that CoinJoin and Bitcoin tumblers have. And that's basically, if you don't obfuscate the amounts that are being sent, you can actually use some amount of temporal analysis to look at the mixer and the outputs that are incoming and outgoing. And you can make inferences about what the transactions that came in was and what the transactions that came out was. It's not a perfect science, but there is some information to be gleaned from that. Now, zero knowledge proofs, they're different in that there is actually not any information there for you to glean because they're zero knowledge proofs, right?
Yeah.
But zero knowledge proofs have some overheads. Right now, the transaction processing time is very high. So if I wanted to calculate a zero knowledge proof on my phone here, that would take hours and hours to create that and send that transaction. That's why you can't do transactions zero knowledge on Zcash on your mobile phone, for example.
Well, that's why you can't send them by default either. You actually have to opt in to privacy on Zcash. Otherwise, it's as public as Bitcoin is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the stats behind Zcash that 98% of the transactions happen in the clear on Zcash, and then 2% use the T addresses, which are the Z addresses rather, which are the obfuscation addresses.
Yeah.
So Monero we see as one of the better methods of privacy because all transactions are obfuscated by default, so you actually cannot send a transaction even if you wanted to without privacy.
Yeah.
And the way that it works as well, it doesn't require a trusted setup, which Zcash requires as well, which you generate these initial parameters and you rely on someone else destroying them. So in Zcash's case, 7 people generated these parameters.
Well, that's changing now. But
yeah, so Zcash is introducing some really cool things as well, and things that we will look at in the future, because ZK snarks are a very innovative technology.
So just summing that up again for beginners, there's software and programs out there now that are starting to get better at recognizing other privacy methods, such as tumbling. But there's also the ZK snarks, which is high computational power, and for a lot of blockchains, that can mean expensive or more expensive than a basic level transaction on some coins. Cool. So in the future, the two-tier system allows for a lot more. So basically private apps in a nutshell. Do you want to talk about that and the future of Loki, what you'd love to see running on top of this network?
So essentially once you have these incentivized nodes, right, that are running, you can get them to do additional tasks. So we see this in Dash. They have 2 additional tasks that the master nodes perform, instant send and private send. They're not phenomenal tasks, but they show how you can use these incentivized nodes to do special things. Yeah. So what we're actually doing with service nodes is we're using them to route messages. So you imagine like a Tor-like system, and Tor is just a system where people run nodes, and when you send a message, they're routed or bounced between different nodes. So it becomes very hard for you to see where those transactions are coming from or those messages are coming from, right? Because they're going through so many different places. Now we're doing the exact same thing or a very similar thing with our service nodes, but we're going to do it with messages. So if you want to send a message as a user to someone else on the other side of the globe, you have their public key. You can use their public key to route a message through the system of incentivized nodes. Yeah. Now, that's the initial use case, is messaging privately, right? The much larger use case is that the internet is really just a bunch of nodes that have messages sent through it, right? Yeah. So really anything that you can build on top of the internet, you can also potentially build on top of Loki. And that's the grand vision of things, is that eventually this will become a mixed net like Tor or I2P, where you have these messages that can be routed anonymously, and the only thing you need to receive them is a public key. So that's the grand vision of things. The initial vision is just to provide a private messenger.
Of course, you wouldn't want to do everything on the Loki network. I mean, that would be impractical, probably a lot slower than the general internet.
Yeah.
You know, it's not good for all applications, but for all data sensitive or privacy sensitive applications, you know, there's a whole wide range of possibilities.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're looking to obviously grow the Loki community. I'll ask you guys, like, what stage are we at in terms of being a currency? And you've just created your own native wallet, I believe. And then next up is the first application, which is that fully private messaging. Then more in the future, maybe a few years away. But you're looking to attract more people that are like-minded, similar philosophical beliefs in terms of privacy and censorship. But also for those people running the master nodes, that might also be quite attractive.
So right now the stage of the project is we've just launched our mainnet. So we launched our mainnet about a week ago. And what we did was we did a code fork of Monero. So we took their code, made some modifications to it, like increasing the mixin size to 10, and some other stuff, pre-mine and governance block reward as well. So the mainnet is live now. So if you want to go and participate in Loki, you can start mining if you want to, or you can purchase from one of the exchanges that's open. But yeah, that's what's happened at the moment. Like in further, the further like thing that we're doing right now is we're actually trying to work out how all of this is going to be implemented. So we have the white paper that is like our technical document that we're following, and now we're actually getting down and dirty in the service node department and working out how those are actually going to functionally operate in the code base.
Cool. Off the top of your head, do you guys know roughly how much it is to run a master node? Because that'll be the #1 question in the
We're conducting an economic study at the moment to work out exactly what that's going to be. I mean, of course, the bigger question is how much is Loki going to be worth at the time of the service nodes coming online for the first time, which is something we're having to make some assumptions about.
Yes.
But when it's complete, we'll try and write it into a revision of the white paper.
Because we do things slightly differently to Dash, because Dash has 1,000 Dash is the set amount that you need to run a Dash masternode. What we have is we have a starting amount that decreases over time. So you make an assumption that Loki will get more valuable over time, and then you decrease from there. So you don't have this standard where to run a Dash masternode is $800,000 US, or that's what it was the last time I checked. But it's a ridiculous amount of money for anyone, right? So we want to start at a certain amount and decrease over time as the price of Loki increases. The main thing is that there is so many factors that you have to take into account when you set that starting price. It's ridiculous. And that's what we're trying to work out in our heads at the moment. So we have said before that the number was 10,000, but we're looking into that again. Like, it's really just a ballpark figure at the moment, 10,000 Loki.
You've got to toss up how much it will cost to run a masternode at any given point through time, how many nodes you want on the network or can realistically expect on the network, and whether the returns they're getting are actually worth them bothering to stake in the first place.
Yeah, you're actually diving into economics. So,
it's extraordinarily complex.
All right, guys, it's been a fantastic chat. Any final thoughts?
I do have a final thought. We're hiring C++ developers. So if you're a good C++ developer, hit us up on LinkedIn or go to our website. We've got some contacts there as well. So
awesome. Every project's in need of more developers.
We've got a good lively chat on our Discord these days, which can be found on our website as well. So come join us.
No worries. Okay, thanks a lot for joining us today, guys. I'm sure we'll talk again in the future.
Thanks, Nugget.
Cool.